coming up this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
What time is it? So it is March 7th. As always, guys, we'll record this, get this on YouTube afterwards. We're just going to run through all of our analysis for this week. If there are potential setups or trades, we will give it out in the session and tell you guys where to take a position. Nick's going to get started. I'm going to pull up the Discord real quick. In the Discord chat, we post all of our analysis and in the Telegram. Again, this is all free, so it's all posted in here. You could click on it, see how things are playing out during the week. It is in the Telegram as well. So I'm gonna pass this over to Nick, and then he's gonna run through some freaking minor pairs, major pairs, all the pairs, guys. All the
Yep,
pairs.
we're gonna get into it. That's what you guys need to know.
Yep.
Let me just share up. Okay, over to the charts. All right. So as you guys know, we start our, well, for not everyone, but for those of you that have been here before on the previous Sunday Market Blitz, we always start off with DXY. We don't actually trade this. It's just the dollar index. I kind of use this as an indicator, kind of a gauge for what the US dollar is doing. And that's important for us because the dollar makes up for 80% of all trade in the Forex market. And it's also considered the reserve currency of the world. So naturally, if you see a lot of fluctuation or a lot of movement on the dollar, you'll see that kind of carry throughout the market. So we just stop here at DXY, see what it's doing, kind of get an idea for what's going to go on during the week, and then take it from there. Use that and take that into consideration as we're analyzing other pairs, and yeah, pretty much just try to capitalize on it. So we do analyze it pretty much the same as any other pair, just as you would. It's general TA, as per your style. But I'm going to jump to the daily time frame here, and we're just going to get an assessment of the overall trend. Then I'm going to bring you guys down to the 4-hour, and I'm going to give you two scenarios: bullish option and a bearish option, and we're going to see what could happen. So here we are on the daily. Clearly, we're very bearish, right, guys? What defines a trend? A bearish trend: lower lows, lower highs. We're moving through support, testing as resistance. Overall, it's very bearish. Okay. And the most recent zone that we broke that was significant was this monthly, right? Price action fell right through it. We consolidated a little bit. We came back up. We tested and rejected this monthly level, came back down, back into our consolidation area, and then we saw a rally. So this is like a 4-hour rally. It looks like it's breaking this zone, which could lead to a daily transition, but we really want to wait for that confirmation on the daily before we deem it, change a trend. And we want to wait for that higher low. So to confirm this, a daily trend change, we really just want to see a higher low at this point above this monthly. But for now, it's still very much bearish. So let's go to the 4-hour and see what's going on. So the 4-hour, very much bullish, right? Daily and higher time frames are bearish. Okay, so what happened here on the 4-hour? We saw this bit of consolidation. This was a bit of a range here where we saw price action playing between. We did shoot up to this monthly, which we rejected, and then it came back down. But this wasn't a true break here. This was just a test because there was no higher low, right? Price action shot up and then came right back down. Here price action shot up and then gave us a higher low and then continued, to shoot higher. Okay, so very much bullish here. At this point, we had to refib, right? We got a new higher low. Structure had formed, so we fibbed from the low to the high, where this is our new high. So now we're waiting for some sort of pullback to see if this trend is going to continue. But what's interesting here is that our 38.2, which is our first level where we would consider structure formation, lines up right with our monthly, right at 91.5. So this is an area where we can anticipate some sort of rejection. If price action comes into this area, we could expect it to react to some degree, right? Either it's going to bounce or break. So we'll see. Right now we got to wait. Definitely going to pull back a little bit, at least down to this, 38.2. We'll see. But if this thing does come flying down right through this monthly, look to target 90.8. In that case, it's still, again, the higher time frame takes over. It's still bearish at that point because it then rejected this monthly zone again. So we would reanalyze if this were to happen. If price action were to play out this way and fall down to 90.8, we'd reanalyze at that point and come up with some other trade scenarios. All right, so that's where we're at on DXY. Definitely looking pretty bullish, but overextended, due for a pullback. We'll see how it reacts at this monthly zone. All right, let's move on to AU. First actual pair. So again, this is AU, so US dollar being the fiat currency in question here. How that kind of reacts for this week is gonna, determine a lot on AU for sure. One thing that's interesting on AU is that we've seen a pretty large increase in volume. So if this volume keeps up, we could potentially get a nice move if we are on the right side of the market here. So let's start off this analysis just like we did on DXY, daily time frame, just to assess the overall trend. Very bullish, guys. Higher highs, higher lows, breaks of key resistance this weekly right here, then a higher low testing, right? Key signs of a bullish trend. So let's go to the 4-hour now and see what's going on this time frame. Okay. So this is definitely the key zone right here, weekly. This weekly zone 076, right? We moved above it. We consolidated for a while. We then tested. It touched 3 times, confirmed this is a higher low, and then started rallying again. We saw our new high form up around 080, right? Then price action came right back. Huge rejection from that area, came back down, played around in this area for a little bit more, for a little bit longer between 078 and 0768. So from here, we really, you're not going to take a buy right off this. There's no real confirmations that this is bullish yet. How it reacts to these MAs is going to determine a lot. So ideally, I want to see it test this zone up here, 078, give us some sort of higher low above the MAs. And then if there's some strong bullish confirmations, I'll actually take an entry, as it's kind of breaking out of this range and through this resistance. But it would have to be pretty much just like that, a higher low above these MAs after a cross, then strong bullish setups breaking through this zone. Okay, and then we would target back up towards our prior high, potentially higher towards negative fib levels and so on. So this is definitely likely, guys. So this would be more or less what we're looking for here, kind of like an inverted head and shoulders, right? So this would be the, the left shoulder. This would be the head. Neckline would be here, pretty much at this resistance level. So this would kind of confirm it here, right? MA cross, higher low, that'd be the right shoulder, and then we're off on a break, okay? So that's ideally what we need to happen. If it does continue to play within this range, we just have to wait for a break at that point. If you want to take, a high risk kind of trade, you could play the range. We always, recommend that if you want to take that lower time frame trade, you can. But, the more conservative route is what we're always going to go over on, these calls. So this is definitely the more conservative route, looking for that higher low and break. Okay, so nothing here says bearishness really on the higher time frames. So, the daily and so on. So honestly, price action could fall to this level and still be pretty much bullish on the daily, right? You could still see price action fall here and reject off this weekly zone. But if we see price action break the weekly, form some sort of lower high, then that's we're bearish all the way bearish. But for now, we really got to wait and see how this last push it reacts at this zone, right? So we'll see. But yeah, price action could fall down to this weekly and still be bullish. We've seen it all the way over here, right? Still very much bullish. We've seen huge rallies off this zone. So just be aware, guys. The fact that we're seeing this rejection now is pretty good. And then even on the daily, it's showing a pretty long wick, right? On market open, we gapped up a little bit. Huge exhaustion here. Massive rejection off support. So that's a good sign. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here on AU. Okay, let's move on to our next pair, AJ. Okay, it's gonna be pretty similar to AU. Usually is, guys. Especially as far as the trend goes here on the daily, very bullish. Recently broke 76.5. That was kind of our biggest level, and then once we broke that, it just continued this super steady bullish trend, right? Kind of just hiking higher, high after high after high, all the way into this weekly, right at our level at 83.25, right? Key level. Price action is dancing around this level a little bit, but we're just looking for the overall trend on the daily. So let's go to the 4-hour, get a closer look, see what's going on. All right, so we're consolidating a little bit. We did form a new high up here, pretty much at 85 flat, nice psychological level, right? Pulled back, form structure 61.8, found rejection off 82.25. Now we're crossing the MAs and we're getting a bit of a flag here. So this is a good sign, because if we break this flag and we get quick retest or a higher low or some sort of strong bullish variations, this could be a nice entry, right around this 38.2, this weekly as well. Good confluence. We'll be looking to enter on something like this. Even if it happens quicker, could enter on a 30-minute, some sort of quicker retest to enter on. And then we're going to target the prior high and then you know, eventually the negative fib levels. So this could be a really nice play. You know, we just got to wait to see if this break follows through. There is a bit of exhaustion on this 4 hour here, and there's 44 minutes to close. So we'll see. I mean, obviously we don't want to see exhaustion. That is just a weakening of, you know, price action. So we'll see how it plays out. But if it does kind of you know, play out this way, we'll be looking for that long opportunity. However, if price action does kind of flop and falls back down towards our support at 82.25, we'll have to reanalyze, because, you know, it could reject from there, just like we saw here, right? Could just be another test of this zone, this higher low. So definitely could see rejection of that and then a continuation higher. But yeah, we'll reanalyze if this happens. So these are the two scenarios for right now. And that's AJ. So let's move on to next pair, UJ. Daily time frame to start. Still looking for the overall trend here. All right, so this is interesting because UJ has been bearish on these higher time frames, so monthly, weekly, daily, for quite a while, right? Very long time. Just been moving lower. And the major level that we broke here was 107 and then 104.5, right? Lower, more of a daily zone. This is more of a weekly zone. So very bearish. We did see this bearish channel end, right? Once we saw a transition through 104.5, here's that higher low. And then we've just been rallying since, right? Breaking through that. We had that 4 hour transition. Now the daily, this thing's blowing through weekly levels. So it looks like UJ is really, really just turned around. You know, obviously on the, you know, the back of the dollar, it's kind of just skyrocketing. So it's a bit overextended, right? We never want to buy at a high. We never want to sell at a low. But, you know, UJ is definitely bullish now. So let's go to the 4 hour and see what's going on. So yeah, very extended. Look at the volume, guys. This thing's just kind of shooting to new highs here. So we can't do anything with this. We're not going to sell it yet. We can't really identify enough in this area to just take a quick sell. You know, we need to see something happen, a pullback, consolidation, you know, patterns, anything. So ideally, we want to see this pullback to form structure 38.2, which lines up with our weekly support 107. So this would be really ideal, right? Nice pullback, maybe even some consolidation if we're lucky, a pattern. Enter on some conviction, bullish variations, and MA cross. We'll target 0%, potentially higher, negative 27, which lines up with that higher time frame trend line. So this is an area of confluence. Looking for potentially this is a target. Okay. But yeah, we just can't do anything with this right now. We can't buy it, can't sell it, because, you know, it could keep rallying as well. If this momentum just keeps up, we'll just see it shoot right into this trend line and then reanalyze. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if UJ does pull back through 107, right, this would be the bearish scenario. Looking for some sort of lower high, massive rejection as new resistance, and then yeah, complete transition. That's what you want to see before we can even consider shorts. All right, so that's UJ. Let's move on to EJ. This one's actually looking pretty good. Good range here. Nice and easy analysis on EJ. So overall, very bullish, guys. Has been for quite a while, right? We saw all this consolidation here, dancing around the monthly, pulled back, gave us a higher low, and then formed this amazing bullish trend, bullish channel. So clearly bullish on EJ. Let's go to the 4 hour. So look at this channel, just absolutely perfect. Higher highs, higher lows, super easy to follow. Clean transitions through 127.45 here. Moved right through it, tested as support, crossed the MAs again, tons of entries in there. Which brings us to now, right? We formed a new high over here, pretty much at 130 flat. Again, nice psychological level. Pulled right back, test new support, which, you know, was resistance over here, as you can see, right? Gave us that higher low, started rallying again, right? All entries in there. Now we're consolidating above the MAs. So we really have two options at this point. Overall, we know we're bullish, right? So we're first looking for that bullish move. So a nice break to the upside, higher low above 129.45 would be ideal. Entering on some bullish conviction, targeting the prior high, one of our TP levels, and then of course the negative 27 fib level. So I mean, this could be really nice. This could be a really nice move. EJ has been kind of paying out lately, over 100 pips. So we'll see if that plays out. What's that?
The EJ long.
The EJ long, yeah. We'll see. I mean, obviously, this is just kind of biased with the trend. We obviously want to ride the trend, so this is my first, you know, setup that we're looking for. But if it does, you know, kind of fall out of this range here, it doesn't develop higher, we see it break lower. Look for a lower high. You could catch a nice lower time frame short into this support level, closer to 128.3, and then reanalyze at that point. This would be your first target. We're not just going to target all the way down here, right? This is clearly significant support in this channel. So you take a lower time frame trade, right? You take a nice, good calculated trade, good risk to reward down to the support. And then if that plays out, reanalyze, look for the same thing, lower high below the support, target a new level, and so on. Okay. But yeah, pretty much until this channel breaks, it's going to be looking bullish. So, we'll just see how this develops, see how this range plays out. All right, pretty straightforward on EJ. I actually really like these range patterns. It's super easy to see, especially in a larger channel. All right, so that's EJ. Let me wrap this up with gold, and I'll pass it off to Angelo. But gold's always a good one to kind of end with. It's always a wild card. Overall, super bearish, guys. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit. So the weekly was bullish for quite a while. Actually, let me just jump up here for a second. We're going to start on the weekly with this one. So overall, super bullish on the weekly, right? But then we were bearish on the daily for a while after we had formed our high at 2070 back in August. And then we were kind of just forming lower lows since that. So the daily was bearish leading up to this weekly zone right at 1800. And then we finally transitioned through that. It hasn't pulled back to form a lower high below, but multiple weeks have closed below that level. So clearly, this thing is bearish as hell. Okay, so gold is super bearish. What are we going to do about it? Let's drop down to the 4-hour, see what kind of trades we could spot and what levels are kind of near current price action. All right, super bearish. Here was that drop off. Very, very nice. And then formed a nice little bearish channel. It was weakening a little bit. You could see it in the exhaustion. Wasn't the largest momentum as we had seen previously. So it was slowing down a little bit. Maybe this is the final level of support. I was hoping to get a little closer to this monthly just so we have a nice psychological level. 1675 would have seen, hopefully a lot of rejection from there. But, we're reversing a little bit higher, closer to 1685. It's pushing up. So from here, we really have, there's two options. It's either going to reject heavily and shoot down towards this monthly, in which case we'll have to reanalyze anyway. But if it pushes up and pops out of, this little channel that we're seeing right now, it's pushing up, a little bit of rejection. But if it does close above 1710, this level right here, and then some sort of, 1 hour, 30-minute higher low, this thing could be pulling back to form, a more significant level of structure, right? And the area with the most influence right now is 61.8, right? Clearly was support. It took a lot of momentum to break this handle. It even retested it almost. And, it's just good confluence. It's also 61.8. So that's where potentially we could pull back to. If you wanted to catch a buy on gold, this would probably be it, right? Take 1710, 1765, and then reanalyze, see how price action plays out at that level. Because it could definitely reject. This 200 EMA will be much closer at that point. So, this is definitely an area where we could see some sort of reaction. So it's good for a target, if we were to take this long. All right, but that's gold right now. I mean, so much movement lately. We really just got to give this one a breather. I mean, that's how it goes, right? That's how the market goes. It makes a big move. It starts pulling back. It consolidates, so it's never going to just go in one direction. You gotta play it in these kind of pulses, right? All right, but that's all I got for you guys. DXY, AU, AJ, UJ, EJ, and gold. You could always check the analysis back in Discord. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to pass it off to Angelo, and that's what I got for you guys.
All right. It's that time.
It's that time. Share your knowledge, Angelo.
That time again.
We need to know.
We're gonna get started. Let me hop in here. Boom.
Oh man.
Just as a reminder to you people in the chats right here, we've got a couple things going on. We've got this giveaway going on right now. All you gotta do, comment on this post, follow this page, join this group. So a little giveaway. We haven't done one in a while, so we're doing one, $100. So guys, join up in here and then we'll pick a winner. And then also we've got, if you haven't checked out the videos from last week going over all of our analysis, everything's on our YouTube. The signals results, that's on our YouTube as well. And then we're going to do this challenge this month in order to It's for a 25K FX seed account. So basically, you guys got to start a demo account with 25K, and whoever makes the most percentage wise will win the challenge. You got to follow these rules here. So use a 25K demo, 10% max drawdown, no daily drawdown max, minimum 10 trading days, and then the highest percentage gain will win. So that's going to be going on. So just a few updates inside of the chat here. Let's see.
Yeah, it's an awesome opportunity, guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't have any like a lot of money and you're trading well, I mean, give the challenge a shot. Give it a shot. It's free. You just use a demo to trade on it. So all you got to do is give it your best shot this month. If you end up becoming the winner, then you get an FX seed account. It's like a $250 value. So yeah, definitely if you guys are trading this month, give it a try. Give it a try. It's worth it. All right. So I'm gonna get started. Go back and look at the dollar just like Nick did. I'm gonna bump up time frames. Again, guys, we don't trade the dollar index. We just look at it for confirmation. What's interesting to me is look at obviously the last time we came to these lows around 90, price shot up, from this level. So could we be seeing something like the same as that potentially? We'll see how strong the dollar really is here on the weekly time frame. We've got the cross and the moving averages here. Obviously, last week was extremely bullish for the dollar. Coming down to the daily time frame, we've actually started to break some structure now. Broke resistance here. Pretty much this level, I had this last week. This 91 level was pretty significant. Now we're starting to break above this level. I'm going to leave this down here, though. The 91 mark is definitely a serious mark. As you can see, now we're coming into this weekly level. I do kind of use these quarter point levels. So this weekly could certainly be a turning point for DXY. We could pull back, from this area all the way back down to this support level. So we'll see how this week shakes out with the dollar. If we come down to the 4 hour, obviously it's bullish. It's bullish on every time frame below the 4 hour or below the daily, clearly. And then up to the weekly is when we start to see, okay, overall, we are bearish. Where are we? We're at this weekly resistance. So we'll see if price rejects this, obviously dollar is going to go down. And then a lot of these pairs are going to go in favor of the fiat currency against the dollar. So let's go to GU first. Let's take a look at this. We always start on the higher time frame here, guys, just trying to get an overall picture of what's going on. I've got this monthly level placed here, and it's not just placed there for any, for no reason. We've got support here. Obviously, this right here was a point at which price found support. This was this is a point price found resistance. And now moving down, based on where we're at now, obviously we came up to that level, rejected it pretty hard, closed below this 14,000 area. So this week, we could see a push back up as I come down time frames right here to the daily. We can see on this time frame that we have been extremely bullish for quite some time, and then price had this little run to the upside, moved up literally like 450, 500 pips on that one. And then now at this point, I mean, the main thing I'm focusing on, guys, is we have the cross of the moving average. So it's telling me on this daily time frame, momentum is shifting to be bearish as I come down to the 4 hour. Very clearly, we're in a downtrend here. If I were to do the exercise that I walk through from time to time with you guys, drawing out market structure, you could see here. I'm just going to take off the candlesticks, take off my moving averages. We can clearly see right now, guys, that we were in an uptrend, forming a high, higher low, high, higher low. Then we made this high, and then we came down, found support around this area, pushed up, and then we failed, broke this trend line, retested. That was our first lower high. So let's just keep it very simple at this point as we bring all these things back on. What we're looking for is the first lower high. So we're looking for the first area to potentially start to sell this off. As we can see here, I have it drawn on. I'm looking at two areas right now, either this 38.2 or the 618 level. Those are the two main fib levels that I look for reversals on. So this thing, you know, we need it. We need it to show some signs of pushing up, retesting these levels before getting in on a sell. I don't want to just, if I come down to the 30-minute, even down here, I mean, we are getting an actual flag forming. So I'm going to just map this out. We're starting to get some sort of flag forming. All this tells me is price is going to start to consolidate, move higher, and it's really just trying to find the price that it ultimately is going to push down from. So I am going to be looking to short this pair GU, but first I am looking for a little bit more of a retracement, looking for it to push up. So this is the idea, guys. 30-minute, I've got this flag drawn. 4-hour, the time or the structure is very bearish. We're in a downtrend. So this week, definitely looking to short GU. So let's go over to EU next. It's going to be fairly similar. Let's bump up to this weekly time frame right here. So always hitting the weekly, trying to get an overall picture. If you guys are unsure of structure, what's going on, just zoom out. Just zoom out, give yourself a better idea of what's going on. So as we see on the weekly, we hit this resistance level right here, pushed off it pretty aggressively, and now we're getting all this bearish price action starting to get across the moving average here. We are a little bit oversold. I'm going to come down here. We're at the we're overextended right now. We're very overextended on this daily time frame. What I'm looking at and what sticks out to me is we had right here this push to the upside, and we had this rejection of 61.8, one of my levels, pushed up, and then structure's now breaking. So structure's breaking on the daily time frame. Structure has already been broken on the 4-hour. It's clearly been bearish on this time frame, heading lower. So we can't take a short now. Can't take a short at this low. So the two areas I'm looking to push into, as we could see, is the 38.2 and the 618. So I'm looking for price to push up to a resistance level, show us some sort of price action confirmation. Last week, we had this killer confirmation here. Earlier in the week, I was looking for buys. Then we broke the support level, shifted into a downtrend, had this bearish engulfing. And if I were to fib this, we could see this thing came up to 38.2, huge bearish engulfing. And just a quick example here. This is what I would do if you guys are struggling with entries. This is how we teach the entries, is look on the higher time frame for multiple confirmations. So at this point, we've got the 200-day, we've got the 38.2, and we've got clearly resistance here as well, but also the bearish engulfing. Then I'd bump down to a lower time frame, and I would very simply just be focusing on entries. So I would just be looking. This is obviously the candles that we highlighted here. This is the break of support. We pulled back, and we would have wanted to start to enter on variations much like this. When we start to fall through the moving averages, that means momentum is shifting to the downside. So ultimately, these were three areas here that we could have entered on. Stops would have been above this 200 more conservatively. And then if we were being more aggressive, then we would just put stops right above the previous high. And then as you can see, price ended up shooting down, into a good amount of profit. So this week, we're looking for the same thing. Hopefully early in the week, price can push up into a level that we can find multiple confirmations at. Just trying to keep it very simple this week, trying to sticking to the rules. Whenever you get away from the rules, guys, you're going to start to take losses, unnecessary losses that you do not need to take. And even I take them. So we got to just be patient here. So looking at the 38.2, 11950 level, and then also the 1200 level is going to be a major level here. So that's EU looking for the push up, then the push down. Let's get over to NU, bump up to the weekly time frame. This one has been clearly finding resistance at this monthly level up here. We've got a level at 73,000. So again, guys, I kind of use quarters theory with my strategy. I do have these monthly and weekly levels on the higher time frame. If you look to the left, obviously they are relevant. And we're looking at a fairly similar situation as opposed to before. Price is already starting to reject this level. So we certainly need to start thinking about long-term sells. Let's bump down to the daily. Daily time frame has already started to shift the moving averages here, but look how last week ended. We had this 60 pip wick. So buyers stepped in, a lot of sellers exhaustion, buyers step back in. So coming back down to the 4 hour, I'm just going to highlight one little trend line here. Boom. And then I'm just going to come down to the 4 hour time frame, maybe clean that trend line up. It looks good. So this is what we're looking at down on this 4 hour time frame. We were in an uptrend. Last week I was looking for buys off of this level, and then it just got weaker and weaker, and then ended up shitting, going 100, more than 100 pips down, 150 pips down to the downside. So at this point now, I'm looking for the retrace back up to this trend line. And then I'm even going to take this one off. Ideally, I'm looking for a retest of 618 all the way up here. And then once price reaches this level, I'm going to start to look for a nice selling opportunity. Just like this last week, if we started to shift our bias a bit earlier, this is a nice confirmation. If I had my fib on from this high, that's a right around the 38.2, right where we look for. And then if I were to bump down time frames, you obviously can see we had, this was the variation highlighted, and then we started to enter on lower highs. So we would enter here, we would enter here, and a little early, but we could even enter on something like that. So that's just examples of entries based on go on the higher time frame, the 4 hour, the daily, and then shift to the lower time frame, guys. That's where you're going to look to want to take in the trade. So now we're looking prices pulling back. I'm definitely going to look for another sell on this one. And then I've got UCAD and USEF, which are a little bit different than the first three pairs that I went over. These are actually looking like sells, and the first three pairs I went over, I'm really looking to continue with this USD pressure on this one. But as we could see here, I just want to do like a full kind of breakdown on UCAD. Up on the weekly time frame, we hit this monthly level 126,000 down here. Look at how these candles formed. 2 weeks ago, bullish engulfing, clearly. Last week, sellers exhaustion at the bottom here. So we're fighting this support level right now. We're definitely at a major level of support. But we are bearish on this time frame. Going down to the daily time frame, again, we are very bearish. If we were to mark down structure, we could see this low, this lower high, coming back down to this low, another lower high. We just formed a new low now, and now we're waiting to form that next lower high. So look how this candle formed last week, the end of the week. Large 70 pip wick. And then I'm going to come down to the 4 hour. This is where I'm trying to look at structure. So this one's looking good for sells. This one's looking good. We have this low, lower high, low, lower high. And again, if we were to run through the example that I did for you guys that are trying to learn market structure a little bit better, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about lower highs and what to do and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off right here. Boom. So if I was starting, I'm just going to take this thing off for now. So if I was starting, all the way to the left here, I would be looking to potentially enter on lower highs. So what I mean is we had this low formed. I would fib this area. We pulled back to 61.8. I'd only move this fib once we do, I'm going to delete this. Once we do break 0%. So we break 0%, move it down here. And then we retrace back up to 78.6. We break 0%. And then I'm going to refib once that low is created. So I'm going to refib from that high to this low right here. And we bump all the way up, retest this 100% level. That's where we're currently at right now. I'm just going to move this down a little bit. So we just retested the 100% level, pushed down. We actually just formed a higher low, and now we pushed back up. So now we're seeing if price can continue lower. This is going to be a main level of support that it's going to run into. As I bring everything back on, now we can kind of see things cleared up a little bit more. We delete this. So that's why I have my fib here. I'm just going to adjust it. That's why I have my fibs here. We came up to 88.6, this 100% area. A lot of rejection, push down. Now we pushed back up. A lot of rejection with this wick below the 200. So at this point, based on what we were just doing, what I would do is I would say, is this a bearish variation? By bearish variation, I mean, is this like a bearish engulfing? Is this a bearish engulfing, an evening star, any sort of bearish variation? And I would not say so, because look at this wick right here. This wick is pretty major. I would say like this had the potential to be an evening star on the way that this closed. Kind of made it look a little bit uglier, 30, 20 pips on that wick. So it's not the best entry signal. If anything, what I'm waiting for is some sort of pullback. If I were to highlight this and gone down to the 30-minute, there is no reason to enter right now. There's no reason to enter right now. We need price to retrace for us a little bit more. If I'm sitting on this time frame, ideally what I'm looking for is just to enter on any sort of lower high. So once price pushes back up, I'm going to look to short this down into this monthly level. There's going to be about 70 pips to move down. And depending where I get my entry, stops will most likely be in this area. So the idea is going to look very similar to something like this once things play out. Maybe stops a little bit wider to protect ourselves. But coming back up to a higher time frame here to the 4-hour, we can clearly see we're bearish, bearish on these time frames. Trend line, we're below the trend line. When would I start to buy this? I would only start to buy once we break above the trend line, once we break ultimately above this supply zone up here. Once all that happens, then I'm going to start to look for buys on this one. So a lot to prove before I start to buy. Let's look at USEF next. This one's really interesting. We're in a very overbought situation. We're very overextended. As I come up to the weekly time frame, look at the Nick. Look at this level that USEF is currently testing right now. This thing looks crazy.
93 flat, psychological level.
Yeah, it's 93 previous support.
But here's the funny thing too, is that it broke and retested off the bat. You could see that it was like really quick when it initially broke, but it tested in line with the MAs right here. Now it's pulling back through the MAs. Could be more of a significant level now. We'll see how it reacts here, obviously, but
yeah, this thing is a crazy. So guys, the idea here is the weekly time frame is still very much bearish, even though this is pushing higher. This is just the retracement here. So we're retracing finally after being very overextended. This is what we're waiting for. So the rule of thumb is always enter. We always say this, always enter on lower highs. So if I were to fib this previous push, we pushed up to 38.2, pushed down. So this is really the last level of resistance here. We're at this 100% level right now. It's either going to reverse off this level or head into this higher level. This 260 pips higher. It'll head up, retest this moving average. This is the next level that has a lot of sellers or buyers, just a lot of orders at. So coming down to the lower time frame, I mean, it's very, very overextended right now. Extremely overextended on the lower time frame, guys. If we look at price action right now, there's just not much for us to do. Ultimately, what I would want to see before I personally start to short this is I want to see a support level start to break before we decide to actually start going to the downside. So that would be this level, this support level right here. And I'm going to just draw this out. If price breaks this, I will wait for that first lower high, and then we'll start to short because we want to stay in line with structure right now. If I sell up here, price could just go up. Price could continue to go up. There's no breaks of structure. There's no sign of sellers stepping in. All we currently have, and this is a good lesson, you guys, all we currently have is one confirmation. We have a serious level of resistance. That's great. Great confirmation, good for us. Coming down to the daily, there's no other additional confirmations here. There's no bearish engulfing. Like, look over here. Nice bearish engulfing candle. There's none of that. I actually want to break this down. Let's look at this really quickly. If we did happen to get a bearish engulfing, what I would look for is we'd have this highlighted, and then guys, we would just start to, on the lower highs is when we would start to enter. As you can see here, I'm even going to bump. I'm going to stay on the 1 hour for this one because there's just way too much going on in the 30-minute. So as we could see here, price pushed down, first lower high point, 38.2 was met, and then we had this candle. There's really not much we could have done with this, to be honest. This is great confirmation. I mean, this is what we want to see. A lot of sellers stepping in, pushing it down. But after that happened, I wouldn't have wanted to sell there because we would have had to wait. Or not, we would have to wait. Our stop loss would just had to have been pretty wide. We would have had to put stops all the way above this level, 70 pips. That's a lot. So ultimately, if we waited, we could have waited for another pullback. This is a clear sell signal right there. And then again, we're waiting for lower highs. So this up here would have been a nice sell signal. I know there's like a gap, so it gets pretty ugly. Even a little bit earlier, all of this obviously forms a double top. A lot of confirmation here, bearish engulfings, everything like that. So that's where we would have sold in this previous scenario. Then this thing pushed down, obviously a ton. Play this forward a little bit. This thing had, and then even again, look, it pushes up again, and then we have another potential lower high that this thing forms as price pushes down. So this thing had a lot of room to push down, a lot of room to go. And this is what we could see this time. This is what we could see this time. Kind of the same scenario here. We just want to make sure we're not entering at the lower lows. We're entering at the lower highs. Gives ourselves way more chance to get in. Even if we entered here and say I just put my stops right there and we got stopped out, we could have re-entered again here. You know, just looking at those lower highs. Ultimately, nothing is broken here. We could have squeezed our stops and definitely got stopped there, but this is never broken, this level. This is just a retest. It did extend a bit higher though. So going back to price where we're at now, you know, we're so early right now in this potential reversal. We are so early. We need price to push down. If price just pushes off this level 100 pips like it did last time, that's completely fine. Because then if we come up to the daily, that will probably be a bearish engulfing. And that means we can start to sell on this lower time frame. So that's USEF. UCAD and USEF are my two that I'm going against the dollar this week. So we'll see how things play out based on that. And then I'm also going to just do real quick. I'm going to hop over to, we got two pairs here. I don't know if I have it marked up on here. But I've got GJ. I'm going to cover this one really quickly. I'm going to bump up time frames. I'm going to remove all this. For you guys that have been asking about these like key levels, I'm going to just run through really quickly how I get them. I haven't been trading GJ too much, so this chart is a bit old, so I'm just going to redo them. And as you can see here, the trend was very bearish, forming lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So I want to place this first key level where one of these levels kind of intersects. So as you can see right here, we've got resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance, support. So a lot of rejection of this area. This is definitely a nice area to put down one of these levels at. A lot of potential for reversal at this level. I'm gonna go ahead and just
Look at this thing, week after week, bullish.
right. Yeah, this thing. I mean, we'll look at, I guess, this low, this 126, 124. This area just has a lot of buyers at. Doesn't break below here, man.
Yeah, that level's been holding.
Look previously. I mean, pretty much it came to like the really all-time lows. I mean, near it.
Yeah, that's a damn low. What's the average in that? 125 or something? Or
Look at this. Yeah, it's like 126.
126. Okay.
Damn. Price just got squeezed here and then just popped up. So yeah, this is where we're currently at. Obviously, we did break into an uptrend, very much so. But let's go ahead, and sometimes I'll put these trend lines on the weekly too. I mean, this isn't relevant, so I'm just going to take it off. We have no business having it on the chart, considering prices all the way up here. But let's try to find now another level, and we want to just start on this higher time frame, start to scan down. I think I actually placed that one on the weekly, so I'm going to take this off. So I want to place these on the actual monthly time frame. And I'm just going to scroll down my chart. I could see here we've got support, resistance. So this is one like point that I'm going to put at. I'm going to look left. We can see it's at 155, 200. That's a good area to have this one at. I'm just going to go ahead and label this like that. I'm going to push down here, push down. And I really want this next level to be about 100 pips, 150 pips away from the first level. I'm going to push down, push down, push down. Where do I see some areas of support and resistance? I definitely see one right here. I'm even going to look back, see if that level is relevant.
Typically, that's a good rule too. You don't really want to extend over 1,500 pips, guys, because then you're just getting a little far away. You're just getting a little too far away.
Yep. So I'm going to put that here. We've got this weekly now. Boom. And then we've got this monthly. Boom. And I'm going to bring this one down. We don't want that. So this is just marking up, guys, those key levels you see on every single one of my charts. That's how I get them. And then what I'll do is I'll bring on everything, the candlesticks, come back on and see, you know, where we're at. As you can see, we're testing this weekly level here. So this becomes one of my confirmations like to myself. I'm like, okay, we're at this weekly level. We could see reversals off this level. Coming down to the weekly here. How are these candles forming? Still pretty bullish. This long wick last week was covered by this huge bullish candle. So still fairly bullish. Then coming down to the daily, again, nothing telling us that we're going to see a reversal yet. And then coming down to the 4-hour, we did see a pullback. So this thing is very much just in an uptrend. And if I were to start all the way left here, this is how I would mark it down. We've got this lower high, this pullback. Then we push up, and this thing finally gets a little pullback here. And then this is where we're currently at. So price is extremely bullish. I do have this idea, this resistance level, you know, but we got to stick to the higher time from here. We can't jump the gun, as they say. I'm gonna go ahead and just hide this out. My freaking cursor is like all fucked up. I don't even know.
The trackpad's going.
Dude, yeah, it's like a hand instead of an arrow.
Yeah, actually, mine's been doing that too.
Here it is. Trading View just has these like random glitches.
Updates or whatever the hell they're doing.
So if we started all the way from the left, guys, this is just one example how I'm using my fibs here. We had this high, pulled back to this higher low, pushed up, and then pulled back to another higher low. Then what I would do is I would come up here, refib, push down, broke 0%. So then I would move my fibs here. And this is just how I identify where structure. This is then my next higher low comes down to 38.2. And then what I would do is I would push this up. And then see here how this never really reaches down and meets 38.2. I could even bring on the candlesticks just to be sure. But this I really wouldn't even consider too much of a major pullback. What I would do is I would just continue to kind of fib this thing through. As you can see here now, that we finally hit this 38.2, pushed up, pushed back down. So this is my most recent structure point on this 4-hour time frame. This is my 4-hour level of support. I'm going to use my random line. So ultimately, unless this level on the 4-hour did break, you know, my trend is very bullish at the moment. Let me bring back all of this on. Boom. And as you see, we're just heading higher and higher at the moment. If I did want to take buys, if I wanted to take buys, which I wouldn't advise because we're at this serious level of resistance, I would ideally want to wait for a break above the level and then start to buy. But if I were to go down to like the 30-minute, what I would look for is just you always look for a trending market. So look where, are we trending at the moment, and don't enter at the high. You want to enter at some sort of higher low. So as you can see, we had this little combination here, even a little bit earlier. We had this because on the 30-minute, this is the trend. We're trying to enter on the higher lows. We're ideally throwing our stops, lower than this level, but this is a lot of pips. So we're not trying to have our stop loss be 140 pips out here. So I would be looking at this level and be like, okay, we hit support, we found a reversal on the 30-minute. But again, we're at this level of resistance. So I'm not trying to buy this right now. I'm trying to see if price makes a move higher, forms a new leg to the upside, then we're going to start to buy this on the retest. No need to buy this now. To the downside, on the other side of things, we have a lot of structure that formed here, which is good. We have a lot of structure that formed here. And if I see a break really below this, and this is getting down into like the lower time frame, what I'm actually looking for to enter based on my rules. If I see some sort of entry like that, that's when I'm going to start to sell this. And that's early. Remember I said 4 hour, this needs to break. Based on this resistance level, if I get the resistance level plus a 30-minute break and retest, then I'm going to short this. So that's my idea with GJ for this week. Definitely at a key level at the moment. I'm going to put this one on my watch list, and we're going to see how this plays out. It could be a nice move on this one. So yeah, that's all the analysis that I had planned out for you guys. I went through, just to recap, GJ, GU, EU, NU, UCAD, and USEF. This will be posted on YouTube in a little bit whenever the video finishes downloading. And other than that, everyone that got in, there's like 22 people in here. Everyone that got in the signals this week for the 50% off, that promotion is currently over. Now the FX seed, those promotions are currently over. So no more discounts. We're going to focus on trading, for this week. Big trading week. And what I will say, guys, is, and I was saying this to Nick earlier, just stick to the higher time frame structure. Just follow the trends. Don't try to get in on trades early. It'll always burn you. If you are going to try to ride a lower time frame trend, and on the 4 hour, like for example, right now we're at a high. So if I was going on the 30-minute and I was really keen on buying this at the moment, I would just risk less. Just don't risk 1%, risk 0.25%. Just risk less in this situation. Wait till ultimately you get the best setup. Once you get your good setups, that's when you want to risk, your 1% or 2%, whatever. And just be patient, guys. We'll be waiting, trying to get some good trades out here this week.
We're watching, guys. We're watching.
Yeah, we'll be watching. We'll be back Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. That'll be our next free live session for you guys in the signals. We're going to do a live call tomorrow, just go over some potential trades. That indicator that I have on might give a little explanation on that one. We won't do too much sales right now. If you guys have any questions, just hit us up, in the Telegram, in the Discord. Make sure you guys are involved in all of that. And if any of you guys want to play some chess, hit me up.
Yeah, get involved, guys. Get involved.
Get involved.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's get it this week. We'll see you guys Wednesday.
Yeah, best of luck to everyone this week. And for you guys that are doing the challenge, make sure you submit your FX book in the Telegram. Like I went over in the beginning. Make sure you put your FX book wherever the hell it is. I have
That's
it.
how you prove the results. FX books, how you track it all. If you don't have it, you can't prove it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. So make sure you stick your FX book with this. It's somewhere in here. Here's the instructions. I'll post it again so you guys know what to do. As you can see here, a bunch of people already have entered. They're down for the challenge. I think about 30 people have already entered and doing it. So give your guys a chance. It's at, if you win, you get a 25K account. So there's really nothing to lose.
Yep.
at this point. And yeah, best of luck, and we'll talk to you guys again, tomorrow and Wednesday and the next day and the next
And every day for the rest of our lives. Have
day.
a good one, guys.
Peace out, everybody.